Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We got an important show tonight because it is Everett Themer. We're going to get into the hype of UFOs, paranormal, cryptids, and the PR around it. And don't forget, big announcement coming up on Spaced Out Radio here momentarily as well. But first, we need to say hello to each and every one of you. Who do we got here? We got T-Bone in the gold medal position. Paramarv taking home a silver. Kitty Caddywhack with the bronze medal tonight. Race Fan in fourth. Road Flare, how you doing, my friend? As we kick off roll call, Mel WD-40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because he knows that whenever it is on, everybody must be lubed up. That's what Everett commands. It's in his contract. Thank you, Mel. Don't forget to give yourself a little shot as well. Thunderhead, how you doing, my friend? Nice to see you. Robert Lamoth and Lisa Smith. Nice to have you both here. Attorney at Large, Michael Morris and Frankie B. Nice to have you here. Kurt M., thank you for the thumbs up as we continue on with our roll call. Super Crazy is here. Super Crazy will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Necessary Dialogue, Jaquetta, nice to have you both here. Number 33 in your program tonight, starting at center ice from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Jansson, there he is. Flubber Lane, nice to have you here as we scroll on down on our roll call. And who is next? It's Walter Kochabinski, everybody. Give him a hi, Walter, from all of us. Absolutely. Hi, Walter. There you go. Moving on down, Ghost Fixter, nice to have you here. And Integrationing, good to see you as we continue on with our roll call. Sorry, guys, I'm a little tired tonight. Gear Jammers, how you doing? Thanks for coming on in. Aussie Boss Tiger, JSCO, Chris Irvin, nice to have you all here tonight. Paula Fost, always good to see you as we scroll on down on our roll call to say hello to Pam Harris. There she is. Undead Jed, nice to have you here. Flat Six, Mark Wolf, nice to see you guys. Tyler is here. Tyler will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Christian Lee Abracadabra, welcome to SOR Chat. How you doing, man? Thank you for joining us. Grandizer, good to see you. And Mima Flowers, love the name still. Still one of my favorites. Moving on down, who do we got? Well, we have T-Bone's kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very, very much. And Oob to Joe's Main, you've got hair. Yes, you do. You got hair. Lots of it. Even your toe knuckles have hair. John Allen, nice to have you here. Matthew Goodka, always a pleasure. As we continue on with our roll call. Did I say to the right of the studio yet? Who else is signing autographs? Or am I missing one? Help me out here. I can't remember. Like I said, I am tired tonight. I am tired. Hi, Laura. How are you? Digger Dog, nice to see you. Jessica S. Laura Dominguez, how you doing? Nice to have you here as well. And honestly, I don't remember if I said. I don't know. Let's get the radio side going. You guys can figure it out. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we want to appreciate you tuning us in. Everett Themer will be here. The media hype behind UFOs and paranormal continues tonight on the show, and we're going to have a great time with Everett. We are in roll call on our YouTube side right now. And who else do we have here? We have Eva. Body Tech, good morning. Body Tech will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Be like T-Bone. Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show. Shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. It's that time to throw those horns up, everybody. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods. We're together. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Caribou Con. Come on up to the heart of British Columbia, the Caribou region, September 18th through 20th, for the greatest paranormal conference this province has to offer you. CaribouCon.com is the website. Media, UFOs, paranormal, the PR hype around the supernatural. We are going to get into it here momentarily with Everett Themer, as we are going to get into a lot of really cool stories tonight. We have a big announcement coming up for our radio and podcast listeners, which is going to be very, very exciting. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will join us with a spooky story. We're going to follow that up with Robin Haynes. The Cryptid Q&A will be here as well. So let's get comfortable, let's get relaxed, and let's get tonight's show going. Everett Themer is a researcher, commentator, and media strategist whose work explores the fascination and the fascinating intersection of UFO disclosure, public perception, and modern communications, combining a deep understanding of branding, audience engagement, and strategic messaging. Everett has become a respected voice examining how the UFO and UAP community and the phenomena itself are presented to the public. His research investigates the influence of governments, intelligence agencies, mainstream media, and independent investigators in shaping the ongoing conversation surrounding disclosure, offering audiences a fresh perspective on one of today's most intriguing topics. Let's bring him on in. Everett Themer, how you doing, my friend? Nice to have you on Spaced Out Radio.
Good. It's nice to be here. How have you been?
Well, I'll be honest with you. The forest fire smoke is hitting me. Okay?
Yeah, I want to talk about that because
okay, let's get into it.
You know, down here in Chicago, we were getting a lot of that. We at one point were actually the worst air quality in the world. And we got to do something about that.
Well, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. And I may get in a little bit of trouble for this. Okay. I may. But I am going to tell you that I think a lot of these forest fires, these massive fires, are a conspiracy theory. I'm going to say it right now. Now, a lot of people will be rolling their eyes at me, but I want you to hear me out for 1 second. A number of years ago, before politics took over absolutely everything, we didn't have these super fires, these fires that were absolutely tormenting everybody. I don't even remember growing up and seeing forest fires. You know, you heard about them, but you never saw them. You never saw the smoke or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? They were dealt with.
And you know, now that you mention that, though, for years, maybe the last 5 years or so, every time there were massive wildfires up there, we would have them covered on the news down here as, you know, as the smoke. We've had bad air quality from the fires before. When they started floating their smoke down here, I think it was Thursday, we had no idea. There was no news coverage of any of the wildfires, and that you had like 159 uncontrolled wildfires at one point.
Yeah.
Until it was foggy here from smoke, nobody was even talking about it on the news. It was just like everybody woke up and, you know, all of a sudden that day it was, oh, let's talk about the, you know, almost 200 wildfires going on in Canada.
Well, here's the thing. There's a couple things that people don't know. Fires have become big business. Okay? It's big business. And most of the best air crews for firefighting come out of Canada, whether it's a company like Coulson, or you see the Mars Mariner before it retired, or many other companies, Conair and others. They fight a lot of the fires in the United States and Mexico. And did you know, for Coulson, a lot of their aircraft are ex-U.S. military aircraft, whether it's Chinook helicopters, Black Hawk helicopters, or C-130 Herculeses, or whatever. But because those have military service, they are not allowed to fly in Canada.
I had no idea.
Okay. There's stupid number one. Number two. Okay. Number two is this. Back in the day, and I live in a forest community. Back in the day, when there was a forest fire, all the logging companies and everybody would get in on action and in clearing areas to try and stop the fire. But because of unions, and I'm not blaming unions, I'm saying government unions, okay, bureaucracy and government control of backburns of where water should be dropped, when, and so on and so forth, it has become major super fires. The other thing, too, is in Canada, they spray this glyphosate on trees that is supposed to kill unnatural habitat, like certain weeds and plants and everything that we don't want in our forest, and even certain bugs like the pine beetle and everything. And it ends up, this glyphosate, people are now starting to ask the question whether or not this glyphosate that is sprayed on the forest, once it hits the sun, if it's igniting into these forest fires. And, you know, it's like a match when it gets warm.
Well, that glyphosate, is that the Roundup?
No, it's not really a Roundup, but kind of, I guess you could say, right? It's a different kind that only affects certain types of plants and weeds and all that kind of stuff, right? So when you add that all together, add to the fact there's a big push in Canada for carbon tax, climate change, and all of that, it adds up where the way the media is up here, okay, it immediately sounds the alarm for climate change and climate restrictions and everything. And it really causes a lot of trouble. We got fires burning all over the place. before I moved up here, this area hadn't seen a forest fire in over 35 years. 35 years. And since 2017, we've had major super fires all around us.
Yeah, I know that it seems like almost every other year you're under some sort of watch where you guys might possibly be evacuated or have to leave your houses. It does seem like it's almost a continuous thing.
I was talking, a friend of mine runs our local airport here. And when the forest fires get close, that's where they park all the helicopters, okay? And he was telling me one time that helicopter pilot comes in, and this helicopter pilot, been doing this a long time, starts telling him a story. He was very frustrated about this giant fire. This is in 2021. And the pilot tells him this government idiot who is sitting beside him in the helicopter, he goes and picks up a bucket of water out of a flue or whatever. And as he's flying towards where that bucket is supposed to go, because all the buckets are accounted for, he sees this little piece of land burning right by the highway. Okay. He's like, hey, let me drop this here. It'll extinguish it in a minute. We'll go back 3 minutes. We'll reload. It'll take 3 minutes. We're 6 minutes out. Okay. And we could do that. The government official says, no, this bucket is for that fire there. You leave that smoldering there. By the time they flew back, that little smoldering was up to a couple hectares of land. Okay. Instead of just dealing with it like being smart, we have to do all this government bureaucracy crap. And that's why we have these fires going on. So that's just a pet peeve of mine. Very big pet peeve.
It's an understandable one. What do you make of the U.S. government basically saying that you guys don't know how to manage your forests?
I think it's true. I think it's true. It's we've seen a major decline due to politics in the lumber industry, the forest industry. We don't clean up a lot of the deadfall that's in the forest. We're putting glyphosate in the forest here in order to help nature, but when we try and help nature, it always backfires. That's a proven statistic for the most part. And as much as I don't like the extra tariffs on everything, I think they're right. We've been abusing our forest industry for decades across the country. And it's about time we got slapped around a little bit.
I can respect that.
Yeah. How's that for honesty? There's going to be a lot of pissed off Canadian people with me saying that, but that's okay. You're allowed your opinion. I'm allowed mine. That's the beauty of talk. But anyways, we got more about UFOs and everything like that. We have an announcement to make here at Spaced Out Radio. And Everett, I want you to be a part of this for a second because this is kind of exciting. So for a long time, we have been running about 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And it's been a while since we've had a weekend show that is going to be a part of Spaced Out Radio. I've already talked to a number of our terrestrial affiliates as well. And due to the popularity of this show, they were asking, hey, can we get a weekend show? I said, sure. I said, absolutely. Let's see what we could do. I wanted to talk to a couple of people, and one of the people on that list was Everett Themer. And I want to introduce you to our radio audience and our YouTube audience as our new weekend host of Spaced Out Weekends. Everett used to work for SOR as a consultant and as a Sunday night host a number of years ago on the social media side of everything. This man is very smart. He's very intelligent. He's very analytical, critical thinker, which I think makes for very strong programming. And in the next few weeks, Everett is going to be firing it up, and you should be able to hear him on your radio stations as well as on YouTube and the podcast network as well. So that way we're going to be here once again 7 days a week. 7 days a week broadcast. How do you feel about rejoining the team, Everett?
Oh, I'm excited. It's been a long time coming, and it feels a little bit like coming home. I mean, you and I had some discussions in the background, and I told you I didn't want to come ride your coattails. And, that kind of for a long time made me kind of just want to I had my time at Spaced Out Radio, and since then you've built an incredible machine. And, long story short, I'm glad to be back.
It is exciting. Are you nervous about getting back in front of the microphone? I mean, we have about 300,000 listeners a night with our radio audience.
The only thing that makes me a little bit nervous is you have the big fancy studio. And the last time I hosted a SOR show, it was audio only. So my studio was off of our recording studio in basically an amplifier closet. And, I'm going to have to do a little bit of remodeling in there because, it was essentially that, just an equipment closet. Sometimes there'd be drums behind me or amplifiers or all kinds of, miscellaneous stuff. And it didn't matter because nobody saw that. Now I have to make it clean and polished like your studio.
Oh, I mean, hey, man, all I can say is, with the amount of musicians you've worked with over the years, the fact that you have about 5 very old Gibson Les Pauls buried around your property in different crypts and drum sets and everything. I think you'll be absolutely perfect at setting up your studio.
I hope so. And there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but honestly, it's time to come home. And, you've set up the system where basically all somebody has to do is put a little bit of effort into it and they're going to succeed. And yeah, I'm pretty good at putting effort and stuff. So hopefully it'll be a good show. It's going to be a little bit different than yours. It'll be geared more towards the weekend, a little bit. We're going to bring in some musicians and some tech people and things like that, but it's all going to revolve around the paranormal. But it's going to be a little bit different than yours.
What do you love about these subjects?
The mystery, the intrigue. I think some of it is the learning. I mean, I've gone back and forth between, with like UFOs, physical evidence, stories, what's more important. And, I think it's a combination. You look at UFOs today and we have very little evidence, but you have all of these stories from people that all kind of share consistencies. And I love to hear some of that stuff. And when you look at, the worldwide, the stories and the encounters and the events, there's more out there than we understand. And I think that digging into that and looking at that is probably the most fun. And just having conversations with people, getting to pick their brain and ask them questions and see what their thoughts are is probably the best part. I mean, when I was doing the Sunday show, that I was terrible at paying attention to the audience because I was focused on the guest and seeing where we're going to take this interview and pulling things out of them that maybe they weren't expecting to say. Maybe they didn't know they even wanted to say it. And then, just through talking to them and listening and having a conversation, we pulled out a lot of interesting stories and information.
The one thing that I love about you, and I've always loved this about you, is your critical thinking on everything. I know I'm a woo guy. I do. But the one thing that you have always done with a number of really great people in my life, and I think of Nicole Sackich, I think of Grant Cameron, I think of, Lorian Fenton and Terry Hall and many, many others around this field. I love the fact that you are willing to push back on the woo side to try and get some normal perspective that the majority of people out there could understand. You're about critical thinking. You're about looking at these topics with a judgmental view, not a skeptical view, a judgmental view on where the truth is. What is the truth behind what a ghost is? What is the truth behind UFOs? What is the What is the reality of Sasquatch and everything? Where do you get that critical eye?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I think I've always had it. I think I was born that way. I mean, I'm skeptical, but I've had so many experiences that I can't explain that I think it's balancing those, that I'm curious and skeptical about a lot of things, but I also understand how somebody can have that experience. And somewhere between those two, I think is the answer.
Everett Themer, new weekend host of Spaced Out Radio. We're going to be calling the show Spaced Out Weekends for all of you. And a lot of our old time listeners will remember Everett. It's been a while since we had him with the team. Holy cow, 7 years. 7 years.
Doesn't feel like that.
No. And the thing is, you haven't aged. I've aged. Man, I look like a Santa Claus right now with a short beard. You still haven't aged yet.
No, I've aged. I feel it in my knees, in my back, wake up and have to lay on the heating pad for 10 minutes before I get out of bed. I'm getting old.
I know that feeling. And that's why you finally convinced yourself to buy an electric wood splitter.
No, I bought a gas one.
Or a gas one.
Yeah. That was you're the one that talked me into that, and it was the best investment I made.
It's one of the greatest inventions ever, the wood splitter. It really is. I'm going to ask you, as we got about 3 minutes to go here, what's your favorite subject? When it comes to these topics, what one really rattles your brain?
It's easy to say UFOs because, that's obviously one of the more popular ones right now. I think one of the things that probably interests me the most is some of the older ghost stories or unexplained mysteries, the things like, back in the, 1860s, there was a young boy who walked out of his cabin in Vermont, I believe it was, and just disappeared. Footprints went out the door. He just disappeared. Things like that, sort of the lost mysteries that people don't talk about.
I love those stories too, especially when they involve cryptids. I have become such a cryptid guy. I think I'm disillusioned with UFOs right now. I think I'm pushing, the nonsense of the paranormal a little too far away. Cryptids is where it's at for me right now, but I go in spurts. One day I'm into the ghost thing. The next day I'm into UFOs. The next day I'm into the cryptids. So it's all good with that. For you, as we got about 90 seconds to go, Everett Themer is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. What do you think we can accomplish? What do you think we can accomplish with disclosure or anything along those lines? Do we really want it?
Disclosure is dead. And I know that's not a popular opinion, but the government is never going to admit to anything more than they absolutely have to. And the truth is, they could lay all their cards on the table and half the UFO community is still going to say they're hiding something. It's kind of a dead issue to me. Unless the aliens come and hover over the Super Bowl or the World Series and do it themselves, I just don't see it happening anywhere.
I'm just wondering what we're going to be doing. And this actually, and I mentioned that because it's going to lead into the next half hour. Okay. Because, at first I was laughing about this Dr. Phil avenue into UFOs, but now I think there's a little bit more to it. He just did an interview with Ross Coulthart on his newfound interest of UFOs and unidentified anomalous phenomena. And I think there might be something more to this that we could discuss from a PR move here, because Dr. Phil gave a little bit up. We mentioned it last night on the show about how Donald Trump had given a little note saying, hey, you might want to check this out. And we're going to talk about that and more. Spaced Out Weekend host, Everett Themer. is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. He'll be starting soon, within the next few weeks. We got to get him up and running, make sure he sounds good. Then he's all yours on the weekends. All right, we're clear.
Nifty.
Yeah, man. That was a quick half hour.
Yeah, it was.
Conspiracy, how you doing? All right. Everett will be starting probably within the next couple of weeks on the YouTube side. We got to get him set up computer-wise on everything. And once he has everything set up on that end, then we will be able to get a run going for him. And once he's comfortable enough to get the radio side going, then we're going to be good to go. So there's a couple weeks there before Everett's going to be starting, but it's all back end stuff now that has to be completed. And I'm sure you guys are going to be really happy because now you have a weekend show again that we're going to be a one-stop shop. And Everett is engaging, and he's going to have good guests, and he's got nice hair, and and well, what do you want to say? What do you want me to say?
Nothing. You can say whatever you want. You had the chance, you could have had hair like this.
Yeah, I'll regrow my hair. I will regrow my hair.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to well, I almost said Sundays because that's what it was, but to the weekend. And I think, after a couple of shows, I don't see the learning curve being that long. I mean,
yeah.
Once we get in there and start doing it, it'll all come back and be pretty good.
It'll flow. The big thing is getting Radio DJ and Spreaker up and running for you. Once we get those two, Cuff, how you doing? Once we get all of those going, we'll be fine. Whistling Mike, how you doing? And we got about 2.5 minutes here. Wow, a little bit of breaking news here. I didn't see this today.
What's that?
Apparently, Trump orders agencies to waive NDAs for UFO witnesses cooperating with the feds. I missed that one somehow today.
NDAs on what? I mean, I kind of thought that.
Well, we'll get into that in a little bit here. I know you did, Nicole. I honestly did not have time, and I am really battling exhaustion right now. Really battling exhaustion. I will have worked 14 days in a row here coming up. And this is where Nicole will type in. Like, even on my days off, I don't get days off because I'm filming or I'm working Haunted 108. Charles Wempy, how you doing? I will ask him that in hour 2. Contrary one, how you doing? You can see all the comments on the right there, Everett.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're loving you. They're loving you.
Well, they haven't heard much of me yet. Give them time.
Well, Thank you to T-Bone for our lone super chat and Phil Funk for being a member on our show for a month. We appreciate that. And we got about 30 seconds. Dave doesn't drink coffee. That's Everett's cup of coffee. Show them they want to see the cup again, Everett.
Just a cup.
Everett drinks about 30 cups of coffee a day. Warden Dragon, how you doing? And here we go. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We've just introduced you to our new weekend host, Everett Themer. He'll be starting on the radio and podcast side within a few weeks' time, but we're glad that you are here to have that formal introduction with Everett tonight. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Everett Themer is here. He is the new weekend host of Spaced Out Radio called Spaced Out Weekends. It'll be starting here in a few weeks' time on our radio and podcast side. So, Everett, thank you so much for being here. Big announcement in the UFO world today as President Trump put out a notice, an exclusive to Fox News Politics, that he has directed the Department of War and the intelligence community to waive non-disclosure agreements for former government employees and contractors who want to cooperate with federal UAP investigations. This directive follows years of complaints from lawmakers and whistleblowers that people with firsthand knowledge were too afraid to talk. A new tranche on UAP files is also expected soon. But let's talk about this waiving of NDAs, Everett. What do you think about this?
Something you said there is kind of interesting. He's waived the NDAs regarding federal investigations. So it doesn't cover somebody talking to a news outlet or a university. It only covers then somebody who's working for the federal government investigating them. Is that how I take that?
Well, I would say probably a little bit off on that, but that's just me. I'm looking at this as he's saying he's waiving. He wants the Department of War and the intelligence community to waive the NDAs for former government employees and contractors who want to cooperate with the federal UAP investigators. So I think what he's doing here is he is saying, hey, like people like Jason Sands or Whistling Mike or many others who may not have a government position anymore, okay, or whistleblowers like that. Dylan Borland, for instance, he doesn't have any government affiliation right now. Many others do not either. Okay. That they could come out and speak freely about this, about what they've seen, where they've seen these things, what they were doing. So I think that's where it kind of adds up on it. But I mean, in a way, after just reading that, I can see where you think it's pretty vague.
He said for federal investigators. To me, if somebody wanted to come out to you or the New York Times again, to me it sounds like it doesn't cover that. And does that then cover former employees of Area 51 who have maybe seen drone technology that is being mistaken for UFOs and give them free rein to comment about it? It's written in a somewhat vague way.
That is a good question. I mean, having talked to people before who've worked at places like Area 51 or the CIA. I think of John Ramirez about that, or even somebody like Science Bob or other people who've worked in those industries. It does make you wonder who will be allowed and what will be the priorities of their conversation. What will they be allowed to say? Because Trump has stated in the past that if it isn't part of a national security agenda, he doesn't mind it coming out. But what brings that on? How do we decide what is a national security measurement and what isn't?
Yeah, we spent a decade now discussing UFOs in terms of national security, and all of a sudden now maybe half of them aren't. It raises a lot of questions. The big one that I have is, like it says, federal investigators. To me, it sounds like maybe he's just opening the door, making the door open publicly for some of these people to speak. But I kind of thought that was sort of the intent since around 2017.
And the question is, will these people, just because they are released from their NDA, does that mean they will be fully protected? Or does that mean that they won't be warned about saying too much or saying the wrong thing? I mean, we have to look at this. I mean, if these people, like, I'll give you an example. If it was me coming out on the whistleblower protection and I got my NDA waived, I have to be prepared to know that I am not going to get another job with a government contractor or within the government. I have to make sure that I am completely done. Otherwise, there's no reason to it. It's too much danger. Like, I wouldn't say leave an alphabet agency or even the military, come out and say, yeah, I was stationed at S4 at Area 51, and we saw these craft come in one night and they flew into a mountain. And then, the next day or next 6 months afterwards, go apply for a government contracting job with, whatever company it is, Lockheed Martin or Raytheon or whoever it might be. You're not going to get that job. You're a mouthpiece now.
And this kind of opens the door to let's assume that this is just anybody can speak about anything. Is this an opportunity for the government to muddy the waters? Let's say you worked at Area 51 and you came out and you saw something and you believe it's alien and you go public with it, and then some arm of the government comes and begins to discredit you and offers some sort of vague explanation. Maybe we go back to swamp gas and weather balloons or something like that. I just don't see how this is going to really benefit anybody that way. And what happens if somebody legitimately saw something and they come out and talk about it publicly and it turns out to be some form of national security issue?
Well, Whistling Mike, who's been a guest on this show, he's in our chat room right now. He was a whistleblower. And he says, just for clarification, it is only for former U.S. government and does not cover adversaries or known U.S. technology. And you still have to go to Arrow first, not for talking publicly. Well, that's very interesting. So in other words, if I read that correctly from Whistling Mike, these people can go, say, talk to congressional people behind the scenes, maybe outside of a skiff this, and then they would be able to chat with Luna or Burchett or Burleson or whoever else might be interested. But that doesn't guarantee that you and me and Joe Public are going to be able to get them at all. Mike goes on to say it was already law, just now has the presidential endorsement.
So it's kind of just nothing then.
Apparently. Thanks for ruining the moment, Mike. Appreciate that.
Hey,
Yeah,
I mean, to be honest with you, I've thought since what 2017, 2019, somewhere in there, this was all encouraged anyway. I thought the government made a big kind of a deal about, if you see something, say something type thing.
well, they did, but it doesn't mean that it's going to go anywhere. Right. And I think this is the frustration. And look, we have to understand here, and this is where I battle it. I want disclosure as much as anybody. I do. And I want it from a civilian point of view, because for me, it's about what happened to me. It's about what I've seen, what I've experienced. That's what it's about for me. It's the why me question. I think there's two important questions that I have. Why now? Because this still doesn't make sense to me for the UFO phenomena to come out after all this time. But why me? That's the selfish question of it all. It really is. And when I look at those questions, I have to remember that this is a marathon. It isn't a sprint. We probably will not get Roswell in our lifetime, but we found an alien signal. We found an alien homeland 45 million light years away. We might get something like that. I don't think we're going to get, why are people being abducted, or, more UAP BS that they keep hiding government projects on. I don't think we're going to get more. I don't think we're going to get Roswell, or, we just celebrated the what was it? The 82nd anniversary or 84th anniversary of the White House flyover, 1952. We're not going to figure out what that is. They're not going to let us know what they know on that. So where are we really going with it? But this is where I keep debating on this subject. And to be honest with you, it gives me a headache sometimes.
Well, you mentioned that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And if you look back at the last 10 years, initially it was kind of marketed as a marathon. When TTSA first came out and there were going to be answers and all of this, and they were going to get to the bottom of it, it's hard to believe that was almost 10 years ago. And I would ask you, has the UFO field really moved forward much in the past 10 years?
I think it's become more exciting because of the names that have been played on this, Everett. But I don't think we've actually gained ground on it. I think it's been spread out more, if that makes sense.
When you say the names, do you mean the whistleblowers and government personnel, or do you mean, we had kind of a rash of celebrities sort of sticking their foot into the UFO realm there for a while? And,
well, I mean, as long as it's not Demi Lovato anymore singing to the aliens. I mean, that.
Or what was the other one? Kesha? Didn't she have a paranormal UFO kind of thing going for a while?
Absolutely. Absolutely, she did. So, I mean, now we get Dr. Phil. So we go from Demi Lovato and Dr. Phil, or pardon me, Demi Lovato and Kesha to Dr. Phil. Oh, we can't miscount Rob Lowe in there as well.
Hey, that series he had there for a season, I kind of liked that. That wasn't terrible.
Well, I could see you saying that.
My question with Dr. Phil though is, okay, he got a note from the president. Has Dr. Phil ever in his personal life or outside of his Oprah appearances and Dr. Phil show, has he ever expressed an interest in any sort of paranormal UFO type topic?
No. But I mean, you have to realize Dr. Phil, if we're going to get into that now, because that's a good transition. Good transition. I think Dr. Phil is an incredible conduit for the story. And I think it's a win for the people who have been pushing this subject, like Tim Burchett and Burleson and Luna and many others. I think it's a big win. You have somebody, whether you love it or not, is very loyal to his friend who is the president. You have somebody who is able to open up and hang out with multi-billionaires, including his boss, Oprah. We have, he speaks to, I believe, 18 to 24 million women a day between the ages of 24 and 54, which is a huge, huge volume of television daytime audience. I mean, these are all things that you study. I think it's to push this movement forward and publicly. I think it's a win for them to have him all of a sudden become interested in speaking publicly about it.
Oh boy, is my opinion going to be unpopular here.
Go for it.
I think it's Dr. Phil staying ahead of his career arc. When you look at his numbers and his show and his popularity and the controversies that surround him, I think he has to move away from the typical topics of daytime television. What does his show usually cover? Things like people who got scammed by fake boyfriends or fake girlfriends, that kind of thing, and troubled family type stuff. I think he's staying ahead of his career arc and using this as an opportunity to keep himself relevant in the public eye on a topic that is somewhat popular now with the general public.
And you could be very right. You could be very right as well. But on a political stance, this one actually does make sense. It makes a lot of sense to have this all of a sudden out there and right in the view of absolutely everything else. I think it works. You may not like what I'm saying, but I think it works.
Then why choose Dr. Phil and not a respected journalist or a news journalist?
Because nobody pays attention to news journalists anymore. That's the problem. They all think we are full of crap because the way the media has pushed on a political level, the media isn't the media that you and I are used to. They aren't the media that our parents or our grandparents are used to. They are the media of pushing agendas. Wow. And I say that as somebody who is on terrestrial radio. I say that when I see many people, and the beautiful part about it is if we can't call out our own, to lack of a better term, smarten up and do your job and call it down the middle like you are supposed to be the referee for the public, then what are you doing in the position? And, that's a whole different tangent going down that road because I saw it happen. It was around 2003 when we started seeing this transformation from news to infotainment. And that's where the transition started, where all of a sudden you started seeing reporters, instead of explaining the story, they would all of a sudden throw in, well, I talked to XYZ, or XYZ told me. In real journalism, we never saw that before, ever, because it wasn't about telling you. That person is you're the voice of the public. You are the microphone of the public. And your opinion doesn't matter.
I just think there's better people out there to go to if you're the president than Dr. Phil.
Who would you choose? Come on.
You know what? I'll admit it's tough because he's insulted pretty much every news outlet out there. And to a certain extent, you're correct in that there are no more Cronkites or Coppels or anything like that out there. I mean, I guess it's a tough call. I just don't know that I would have chosen Dr. Phil.
Well, that's the question. Who would you have chosen then?
Does Maury still do a show?
No, you can't go Maury Povich, and Jerry's dead.
All right, I'll give you Dr. Phil was probably the only choice.
Well, there you go. So once you go there, I mean, and look, this could be a political move, or it could be something that he truly is interested in. And all I know is that it's going to open up that entire a whole new population to this subject. We don't have to like it. We don't have to like it at all.
I'd be more comfortable with it if Dr. Phil had at some time publicly, in the past several times maybe expressed some sort of interest in the topic offhand. I would have never put Dr. Phil and the paranormal together, or UFOs and Dr. Phil together.
See, and that's what bugs me about it. That's what bugs me about it, is the fact that this came out of nowhere.
I mean, you can argue that Tom DeLonge was the wrong person to kind of kick all this off, but at least DeLonge had a 15, 20-year history of an interest in the topic before To the Stars was ever formed. You have a lot of different people, musicians lately, that have come out too, that have had a known interest in the topic. Dr. Phil just seems like an odd choice. But you're right. Maybe he is the only choice.
We've got about 2.5 minutes to go. Everett Themer is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. The question is, will he get any info from the inside? With him and Donald Trump being friends, this could be a conduit for Trump to be able to tell this to somebody that he loyally trusts.
Maybe. Again, I would prefer Trump go to somebody who is maybe not so much a media personality to convey any information he has. Why, like him or hate him, why doesn't Trump sit down with DeGrasse Tyson or Michio Kaku or any number of media personalities who have a science type background that he could discuss this with? Why? I mean, Dr. Phil, I guess, is technically a psychologist. I mean, I think he has a license, but I think he's been censured a couple times. He certainly has some issues surrounding him and some controversy surrounding him. It seems like there could be somebody who's less spectacle and more credible that Trump could go to, whether he's his friend or not.
Sim Life makes a comment here. It makes him, Dr. Phil, seem more credible since he's never had an interest in UFO research or paranormal. That's just my opinion. A lot of people are going to see it that way. That here's a guy who is awakened to the subject. You and I are old hat in this. We have to remember his audience isn't old hat. And he's going to be able to open this subject up to a lot of people who are going to have a lot of questions.
That's possible. That's possible. And I guess it kind of depends on how he portrays the topic. I mean, if he's going to bring it into his show, I mean, hopefully we don't go the old stereotypical, some guy from the backwoods who saw light and was abducted type thing. Hopefully he treats it with respect and not turn it into, some sort of spectacle like the only times I've ever seen a Dr. Phil show, it's always been, you've been catfished, you got scammed out of your money, your parents hate you type stuff.
Well, at least we know the aliens are not his father.
Do we though? I mean, he does kind of have a little bit of an alien appearance.
Could be. I don't know.
I will have to see how that plays out. But like I said, honestly, I think it's my opinion is he's staying ahead of his career arc. It's time to move into the next.
Let's hold that thought. Everett Themer, new host of Spaced Out Weekend. We're going to talk more UFO and paranormal right after this. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. Okay, guys, we're going to take a quick radio break here. Be back in 5.5 minutes.
Our merch is Bigfoot approved. We have t-shirts, we have mugs, we have hoodies, we have socks, we have hats, we have stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can buy Spaced Out Radio merch and look the part? Our merch ain't ugly, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Lurking within the forested region of the 108-mile ranch, where the worlds of the normal and paranormal collide. CaribouCon is waiting for you, bringing together a panel of renowned experts in the paranormal, cryptid research, and UFO phenomena fields. Get ready for a spine-tingling weekend in the heart of British Columbia. Enjoy fascinating discussions, presentations, tours of local haunted areas, and skywatching. Learn from investigators, authors, and enthusiasts who explore everything from ghost hunting techniques to sightings of Sasquatch and beyond. Whether you're a seasoned paranormal researcher or just love a good spooky story, this is your chance to connect with fellow enthusiasts in one of BC's most mysterious areas. Tickets are on sale now. Grab yours before they're gone. Visit cariboucon.com for details, tickets, and updates.
Are you ready to dive into the weird and wonderful world of cryptids, cartoons, and chaos? Meet Dirty Filth, Spaced Out Radio's resident cartoonist and master of the mysterious. Every Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific, join him live on the Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel for Cryptid Cartoons with Dirty Filth, a hilarious hour where he sketches bizarre beasts, shares mind-bending stories, and battles his mischievous cats. Whether you're a UFO enthusiast, paranormal fan, or just love quirky art, Dirty Filth filters the universe through his unique lens, creating cartoons that capture the strange, dark, and supernatural. Follow Dirty Filth on X at Filth1 or Facebook at Dear Filth for more filthy fun. Find his link in the description below.
Spaced Out Radio wants to hear from you. We love our community, and your voice truly matters. Drop a comment after every show and let us know what you thought. Agree with our guests? Tell us why. Disagree? We want to hear that too. We read every single comment. Jump into the live chat during the broadcast and be part of the conversation in real time. Got a killer topic idea? Your suggestions help shape the show. And if you want to take it even further, join our Patreon for bonus content and direct feedback opportunities with Dave and the team. This is your show as much as it is ours. Whether you're a longtime listener or brand new, we want your thoughts, your questions, and your ideas. And let's keep building this incredible community together. Spaced Out Radio, where the conversation never ends. What are you waiting for? We're listening.
with 5 explorable Gold Rush era buildings said to be home to spirits of a time forgotten. The 108-mile heritage site in the heart of BC's Caribou region offers a unique opportunity for thrill seekers and history buffs. For an evening of historical fun, step into our guided ghost tours, where spine-chilling stories of Gold Rush legends and unexplained encounters come alive. For those craving even more, inquire with us about conducting a hands-on paranormal investigation of your own. And if you're truly brave, book our haunted sleepovers. Spend the night at our B&B inside the McNeil House to truly experience this historical landmark and its ghostly secrets firsthand. For booking or inquiries, go to haunted108.com.
Here we are. There's Everett. There's me. God of Calamity. Welcome to SOR Chat. And let's scroll on down to see who else has joined us. Let's see here. Peace and what is that? Peace and Noia. Welcome to SOR Chat. And we're caught up. No idea if the ghost cat uses the litter box, T-Bone. No idea. Thank you, T-Bone, for our lone super chat of the night. And here we go, everybody. Here is hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We have Everett Themer as our guest as we are talking all things UFO, PR, media, and all the hype around these subjects that we love. We want to say hello to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is Selenophilia. Selenophilia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here, Spaced Out Radio. Let's bring in Everett Themer. He is the new weekend host of Spaced Out Weekends here, as we will start very shortly within the next few weeks, going 7 days a week for your listening entertainment on terrestrial and podcast and YouTube, social media. It's going to be a lot of fun. Everett, thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
No problem. How much of this could be propaganda regarding the UFO subject?
Which part of it?
Just the whole disclosure movement, what they know, what they don't know. Because one of the mysteries that I have with it is how, and I say this loosely, it bothers me how stupid some of these people act like they are when it comes to this subject. Like, we just don't know what's going on. We don't know what is truly happening. Where are these craft coming from? What are they doing? Why are they here? Where are they coming from? So on and so forth. How do you feel about that? Is this a propagandist event?
I don't know. It's gone on so long that, I mean, it in some ways could be propaganda. But, it's easy to sit there and say, oh, look, they're just trying to distract us from looking at something else. I think there's something in the works with the government. I don't know what. I'm not that smart. It just seems like if disclosure was going to come, why have we dragged it out at this point almost 10 years?
Marathon, not a sprint, right?
Okay, but then let's go back to what we talked about early on. How different is the subject today compared to 10 years ago? If the argument is, well, they wanted to get people interested in the topic and make it mainstream, it became mainstream where you started to see the news reports and you didn't get the X-Files music in the background. But I would argue that since that time, maybe 2020 in there somewhere where it hit its peak popularity, I think to a certain extent with the general public, it has kind of waned off again. I mean, the paranormal and the UFO people sort of tend to consider the UFO topic the only important thing in the world. It is majorly important. It is the topic to discuss. But there is a large portion of the population that, either doesn't believe in aliens, doesn't care about the topic, or has kind of fallen into that group of, yeah, there's probably something out there, but maybe we'll never find out. So if it's a marathon and they're looking for that prime time to drop some new information, why didn't they do it when the topic was at its peak in the mainstream?
Well, I mean, that's $1 million question right there. That's $1 million question right there as to why haven't they done it? Why have they seemed to go so far and then stop? I mean, we've seen that all over the board when it comes to this topic. I mean, we want to make sure that everything is A-okay. We're talking tough. This is why, like a number of weeks ago, I was saying, like, when you hear the politicians speak on this topic, it's like they're cutting a WWE promo before a big match at WrestleMania. They're talking big, they're talking tough. And then when the information like the tranches come out, we get nothing.
And you've spent a lot of time with this topic, almost 12 years, give or take. And I hate to go back into the ancient times, but why did the UFO community let drones drop so easily? For a community who always expects the government to be lying or hiding or not giving us the full truth, when they came out with their vague explanations of the drone events of a couple of years ago, everybody just kind of went, okay, and moved on. Why didn't the UFO community or we as a UFO community dig into that more?
Well, and that's a great question. That's a great question. But how could I answer that? I think that the UFO community, looking for any validity, was going to take what they could get. And you're right. You are right on a number of subjects on that, because so many times we don't believe the government when they're telling us that it costs $40 million to put 2 new fridges in the Air Force One. We don't believe it when they say, yeah, that hammer costs $35,000. We don't believe it when it comes to healthcare or education or whatever else it may be that affects your daily life. But when it comes to UFOs, we seem to believe the government hook, line, and sinker. That doesn't make sense. To an extent. It doesn't make sense.
I mean, you talked about propaganda. And we've had this discussion a lot over the past 10 years. Is the population ready to know that there are aliens? And everybody talked about, COVID was a false flag. And I hate to bring it up, but to see how the population would react to something. And the whole 2017 thing was an operation to see how people would react to something. When the drones were flying around, everybody was fascinated with them, looking at the sky, watching for them, seeing them, videotaping them. And then they just said, oh, well, their operations, private contractors, this and that. And it went away. So is there propaganda in that?
That's a big question. Is the media playing along with it because they don't know any better?
But so much of the UFO community isn't classic media. And it just seems like everybody just stopped talking about it.
Okay, but if you look at, say, News Nation, who literally built a UFO department, Fox News built a UFO department. Okay, like if you look at these networks, just focus on these two for right now. I don't care what their politics or which side they lean. Let's just focus on UFOs here for a second. They also know that this is business. They also know, because Tucker Carlson even said it one day when he was still on Fox News, that they see a major rating spike when they start talking UFOs, which is good for advertising dollars. News Nation is making big money off of the UFO topic because people want to know. And they got a great journalist in Ross Coulthard who is doing the job filling it in.
I'll give you that. I mean, I have my issues with Ross, but I mean, they are one of the few major outlets covering this topic.
When you only have, I mean, from a media standpoint, you know this, when you only have a certain amount of people who are willing to cover this on a full-time basis, you're able to control the narrative a lot more too.
Definitely.
Explain how that works from a media perspective.
What, controlling the narrative on the story?
Yes.
Well, I mean, with the government, it's easy because, all they have to do is essentially put out what kind of information they want put out. And the outlets that are covering it, most of what they have is government issued information. They can grab some of the podcasters, experiencers, that kind of thing, but their main focus is always going to be on what the government has to say about the situation, because as a news organization or a news outlet, that is the real news. So once they get that, they can act for the most part as a mouthpiece for the government.
Is that healthy though? Is the public getting the proper answer or response?
That's a tough question to answer, isn't it? I mean, you look at some of these whistleblowers, and I won't lump them all together, but one of the things that bothered me was when Grush came out and he said he had to get approval from the government of what he could say and couldn't say. Right there, that's the government controlling the story, right? A whistleblower shouldn't be having to get approval. He should be telling his story to whoever will listen. And, I think that was a prime example of the government trying to control what was getting out there under the guise of, somebody who has a story to tell.
Do you think then that there is a true governmental whistleblower? And if not, have we seen that person?
I think there are people out there who are giving parts of the story. And honestly, when you look at the government and you look at the defense industry, it's really easy to say, well, there's a whole bunch of information we don't know. But, and this as well as I do, both the government and the defense industry keep everything compartmentalized. So there's probably nobody out there who really knows the whole story. Maybe within, the upper levels of government or CIA type things, but I would be willing to bet that there's, people at McDonnell Douglas or Boeing or, Raytheon that they have a little part of the story, but not enough to really make any kind of statement about it.
From the people you have spoke with, what do you think the government knows regarding UFOs?
I think they know more than we're told. I don't necessarily believe that we've had as many interactions as have been claimed. I mean, some people will talk about crash after crash after crash. Well, I would think that if there's as many crashes over the globe as they talk about sometimes, disclosure would have happened. I think, that there are people in the government who are letting, and we know this to be fact, letting, the UFO topic cover some governmental activities. And the truth is, if we're working on a defense system and somebody mistakes it for a UFO, that's fine. I mean, in the government's eyes, that's fine, because and you and I have talked about this before, if you and I know about some sort of defense system, then Korea and China and everybody knows about it. So, to a certain extent, I think there are a lot of people that have little pieces within the government. I don't think anybody has the full picture.
Where are they hiding it then?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? I mean, we've talked about Wright-Patterson, Area 51. There's other places that have popped up over the years where some things could be hidden. I don't know. If I had that question, or if I had that answer, I'd be on News Nation talking.
What can come out next? I mean, they're talking once again about a new tranche coming out. Okay, what can come out next? I mean, are we going to keep seeing the same things with blurry videos, black and white videos, FLIR videos? Or are we going to start getting some proper information?
I honestly think it's going to be one of two things, and one of them is very boring, and one of them is just the status quo. I mean, you look at, was it not this past tranche, but the one before? Was it the one before where they literally released the shooting down of the balloon over Lake Huron? Why lump that in with UFO stuff? You could see plain as day what it was. I think realistically, I think at some point somebody's going to, if the government is really out there trying to introduce us to the idea of alien life, I think at some point they're going to confirm that bacteria was found on Mars or something like that. I mean, was it back in the mid 80s where NASA was just about to confirm that an asteroid had bacteria on it, extraterrestrial bacteria. And the scientist that was ready to make the statement and had confirmed it was told to not say a word. If they're not ready to confirm that there's simple life out there, why would we expect them to confirm that there's something out there potentially more advanced than us?
Do you still think we're being visited?
Yeah, I think there's something out there. I mean, obviously, they're in the grand scheme of the universe, I am reasonably certain there are aliens out there. And I'm open to, and I believe that at least some of them have made it here.
Do you think the government knows about that?
I'm sure they know something, but I don't think part of me wants to dig into the woo and say that, oh, they have aliens locked up in Hangar 18 and Mount Shasta is, 30 stories deep. But logically, I think that they have an idea that something is going on. But stepping back to like 2017, I think maybe they don't know as much as people portray the government as knowing. And that's where the issue with disclosure comes up. If they don't know, whatever they say, nobody's going to believe is all they know. If President Trump or any world leader came out and said, oh, all we know is there's something in the skies, to a certain extent, they've kind of said that. And it's a constant battle of, we want more. We expect more. You're not giving us the full truth. What if that is the full truth?
one of the things that we haven't seen through this is the blending between UFOs, paranormal, and cryptid like creatures. You know, we've heard the politicians talk about it more on a UFO side, getting into the woo regarding, you know, consciousness, along with, we've heard them talk about whether or not hybridized people are around, hybridization programs. We've heard them delve into the woo, but we really haven't heard them talk about the paranormal phenomena and cryptid phenomena regarding this. Do you think that is something that could come up in the future?
Maybe it kind of did come up, didn't it, for a while there, where we began to talk about the idea of Bigfoot being an alien and ghosts being some form of alien, that type thing. I think maybe to the general public, it's a little bit difficult to buy into lumping them all together. There are a lot of people out there who still believe that, you know, Dogman or Bigfoot or any one of the cryptids around the world are simply that, just something that we haven't discovered yet, and that, you know, ghosts are ghosts. To try and combine all of them together, it really makes the topic, I think, a little bit too complex and too confusing for the average person, that maybe they begin to lose interest when you start trying to say, well, you know, the knock, you know, from your closet door in the middle of the night isn't your Aunt Emma or something like that. It's an alien. I think it becomes hard for the average person to comprehend or swallow or want to dig into it, because it just becomes so jumbled.
Why do you think the paranormal disappeared? I mean, just a few years ago, there were dozens of shows on cable television. They were making incredible ratings, you know, and now it seems like we're seeing a beginning of the end of it. Sure, there will be Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures and other shows that are out there with the same cast of awesome characters that are out there. But why do you think we've seen a decline in the paranormal world?
I think a big part of it is the shows all go to the same 50 places around the country. They all use the same equipment and get the same results, which are inconclusive at best. I mean, you can watch an old episode of Ghost Adventures at Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, and then you can watch the Ghost Hunters version of that, and then you can watch the Haunted History version of that, and then you can watch any number of versions of that, and essentially, in the end, they all come to the same conclusions, which are vague and inconclusive conclusions. So how many times do you want to sit there and watch the same retelling of the same stories from the same locations? I mean, Ghost Hunters premiered in 2003. So, you know, we're 25 years into really the really big popularity push of it, and nothing's really changed. I mean, I go back and watch some of the older stuff from the 70s where you know, you're using reel-to-reel tape recorders and you're using Polaroids, and sure, the evidence can be argued, but in some ways that older stuff is more interesting than what's out there today, just because we've seen all of these locations repeatedly.
I would agree with you on that. That has been my biggest complaint. I don't need to see more Waverly Hills.
No. And you know, on the flip side of that, from a marketing perspective, there was a push there where, you know, once the topic sort of hit the mainstream and got popular, all of a sudden everybody's restaurant was haunted and everybody's bed and breakfast was haunted. And pretty soon, you know, some of these shows were largely this haunted bar and grill, this haunted restaurant, this haunted hotel. How much of that was marketing versus reality?
That's a hard one to figure out. When we return on Spaced Out Radio with our guest tonight, Everett Themer. We're going to take some audience questions. We're going to continue the paranormal cryptid chatter as well, because we just don't talk UFOs with them. There's a lot more topics to go. Let's get into them next.
Listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. Moodens Mongol, how you doing, Moodens? Whistling Mike says, I'm still waiting on Dave to invite me up for a Bigfoot hunt when he's rested, of course. Buddy, I go every weekend. Every weekend I go. Whenever you want to come up here, you just tell me you're coming. Just make sure it's before the end of October because it gets really cold. Let's see here. Little Mikey, how you doing? Matthew Gook, I don't understand your question. Misha, you can come on a hunt with me too. Let's see. Well, Mike, you got my phone number still, I believe. Ring me. Yes. T-Bone. I came so close to saying Everett was the weekend host. So close.
Yeah, you made me a trivia question the other night. Was it last week?
Did I?
I believe you did.
I tell you what I did do. Hold on, let me find it here. Where is it here? Where is it? Where'd it go? I have something for you here. One second. I just gotta find it now. Where the hell did this thing go? Seriously. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Hold on. Hold on a second here. You can now go to the Spaced Out Radio store and get your Spaced Out weekend coffee mug so you could drink coffee like Everett with Everett's name on there.
That's a little small, isn't it?
It is a little small, but look at the logo. Look how nice that is.
Hey, you got my house on there.
Yeah. Well, you told me not to, but I did. I said, screw it. I'm going to put it out there anyways. Look how nice that is.
Nice.
Go get your coffee mug. There's two of them. There's two of them out there. Where's the second one here? I don't know why it turned the opposite way. Same logo, different cup. This is one of the tin ones right there. Same logo.
You need about a 30-ounce travel mug.
I can do that if you want. How far am I from Victoria? I'm a hour and a half ferry ride and then a almost 7-hour drive northeast.
Okay, you're not close to anything, are you?
I am not close to anything. I'm not even close to a Taco Bell.
That has to hurt.
All right. Make sure you get your questions in for Everett. I want lots of questions from you guys. Ask him anything. Let's go. Make him feel comfortable here. Got a minute. Oh, you're in Washington State. Oh, then you would just take the I-5 up to Bellingham. Okay. Take the guide meridian to Highway 1. And then turn right on Highway 1. Then drive 4 hours. Come up for Caribou Con. September 18th through 20th. Get your ticket now. Like right now. Don't wait. Get your ticket. Thank you, T-Bone, for our lone super chat of the night. We appreciate you, buddy. Got 10 seconds. Here is the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in as we continue on with Everett Themer, new weekend host. How good does that sound? New weekend host.
Sounds like home.
Sounds like home. Look at you, all humble and romantic that way. Love it. Love it. Like, are you going to sing some Nickelback Photograph now? Is that what you're going to do?
No. Why would you even mention that?
What a lot of people don't know about you is you're actually very involved in the music industry, and you've actually played with a lot of famous people.
Yeah, here and there.
Who's your favorite that you played with? I know you don't like talking about this, but I'm putting you on the spot.
Arlo Guthrie was the most fun. I'll tell you why off the air, but
yeah,
probably that's the most interesting.
We were talking about the paranormal before, how it kind of faded off into a non-existent format, yet more people than ever are doing it. Is it, do you think, because of the social media aspect with the extremely fast and large growth for YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram? Do you think that's what's pushed paranormal television away?
Maybe. You know, the thing is, that's kind of a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because in one aspect, some of it helped the paranormal TV marketing to grow. But now anybody with a computer and a camera can kind of go out there and create their own thing. And you were talking about it the other night, that for a while there were so many paranormal TV shows out there. You even mentioned, was it Paranormal Cops? It was here in Chicago for a season. I think it was a short season. I think that, you know, it just became that there was so many other options out there that, you know, watching somebody who's maybe an amateur on YouTube was more interesting than watching some of those scripted TV or reality or docudrama type TV shows. And again, it comes back to when you look at what was out there, you know, 5, 10, 15 years ago, it was all really repetitive. It was all the same. And I think the social media, the people who weren't trained and directed or, you know, media professionals, watching them was more interesting than watching just another show that's essentially the same as every other professionally produced other show.
See, and I would agree with you on that. And I would say one of the biggest issues that we ever saw in the television world, whether it's Bigfoot or paranormal, is they weren't finding different places. There's so many legends, so many stories out there that have never been told, from old mining communities or logging communities or fishing towns, that have sea monsters just outside the harbor. There's so many of these stories. And yet, like you said, it was a rotation of the same spots with just different cast of characters every time.
Well, look at some of the topics you and I have talked about. I mean, why isn't your ghost tour on what ghost shows are out there on the networks now? Ghost Adventures, or, why isn't that story being highlighted? What's the is it in Montreal, the auditor, the stadium where supposedly, is it an old hockey player haunts the ring or something like that?
Yeah, the old Montreal Forum, which is part of a shopping mall now.
Why isn't that being talked about? I mean, that's one of the things that, like, when I first discovered your show years and years, back when we were young, you were talking about some of these things, and with the Ghosts of the Great White North, you bring up stories that aren't the same as every other story. Here in the US, we kind of tend to just focus on ourselves, and we don't get to hear those kinds of stories.
But it isn't just that, though. Look how many places, if you go to the northern part of the lower 48, okay, from Washington State right to Minnesota, how many haunted locations have never been tapped in?
Oh, if you're going to go to Minnesota, you have to include the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I mean, that's where I've spent an enormous amount of my time. And there are places there that, the stories are fascinating, but getting them national attention is next to impossible.
I was talking to a community leader in my community the other day about this exact topic. And she was like, I love what you guys are doing with Haunted 108. And I said, well, that's really great that you do, but we want to have you guys a part of this too, because we can all celebrate how haunted this place is, like a Roswell, like a Mothman, Point Pleasant. We could totally do that, right? In this community. Why not express the love of it and bring in tourism revenue? So
it seems like it would be an obvious thing, wouldn't it?
You think, but the problem is too many people, and I have to say this, they're the 55 and above crowd for the most part, no offense, who run these smaller communities like I live in. Everything is about, what can we get from the government? What can we get from the government? They don't know how to come up with new ideas that are going to attract people.
Yeah, I have to tell a story about that, and I'm going to be vague about this, but it shows kind of the darker, dirtier side of marketing. There was a community that had a square, a downtown district that they were trying to redevelop and reinvigorate. And their answer was come up with a fake ghost story for one of the municipal buildings. And they marketed it and they put it out there. It's still out there today. And my mentor in advertising was the guy that basically came up with the story and said, hey, let's sell this. And, so, I mean, there's kind of, again, a double-edged sword right there.
And that's where it leads. That's exactly where it leads. Let's get a couple of audience questions here. We're going to start off with Charles here. Everett, want to ask you the age-old question. If a UFO landed near you, are you getting on board?
I am 100% getting on. And when they let me off, I'm grabbing a pen.
You'll have your phone right there.
What's that?
Hopefully you'll have your phone with you. They'll let you record it.
Probably won't work.
Seriously, have you ever thought about how you would react if that happened?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I'd like to think that I would totally get on.
I don't know if you would.
I think I would.
I don't know.
Maybe I'd run into the woods crying like a little baby, but at least right now, I'd like to think I'd get on.
I hope if that situation ever happened to me, I would hope that I had the internal strength to do that. I really do. I don't know if I would. I want to say that I would. And that's a good question for our audience. Would you get on a UFO if you had the opportunity? If a UFO landed in your backyard today, maybe you're out camping, maybe you're out fishing or hiking, or maybe it's in your own yard. You had a UFO land in front of you. You stop, you get out. Would you go on the craft? Would you do it?
Yeah, although Dave, rumor has it that most people aren't really given the option of yes or no. When they're taking on the craft, it's generally, they're not really asked if they want to go.
No, I get that. But if you had the opportunity, let's say, because you have acreage, let's say in your back 40, all of a sudden you walk up, okay, you see some lights out the window. You're thinking maybe it's a bunch of teenagers messing around on your property. You walk out there and there's a UFO there. You approach it?
I think I would. And I'll tell a quick story that it turned out not to be UFOs, but somebody across the lake from us lit off a bunch of those Chinese lanterns, and they went up and over the ridge, and I happened to be in the backyard as they were coming up. And for about 30 seconds, in my head and in my heart, I thought there were UFOs there. And it took a few minutes to figure out that it was just the Chinese lanterns. But there was that brief period of time where I legitimately thought I was seeing UFOs. And knowing my reaction to that, I think I would get on.
I would like to think I could. I think there's a lot of people who would say, oh, yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to hop on that. I'm going to get right on that craft. I'm going to go for a flight. I'm going to show these aliens how to fly this thing. Be put in that situation, I don't think most people would. I think they'd hightail it out of there. I really do.
I tend to agree with you. And there's the possibility that I would too. But sitting here right now, I like to believe that I would get on the craft.
I don't know if I could. I want to say I could. I put it out to the universe every night after this show. In my back 40, please land. There is plenty of room for you to land. I will walk out. Let's go for a ride.
See, I think I kind of have the moral obligation to do it. As a skeptic, I can't, see a UFO and not have some sort of evidence. I have to at least try and make my case. And to do that, I would have to go on and, grab a ballpoint pen or a ray gun or a time machine, something small that I could use to prove that they were there. Because that is the one thing that, we've talked a lot about UFOs, but the whole idea of physical evidence has disappeared.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's case of society. I mean, we've moved to the lights in the sky type of thing. And, if you look at the history of the reports, they tend to kind of slowly shift from one type of event to another, from, the craft that were lit like carnival rides to triangles to mega cities to now it's typically just lights in the sky.
Let's go to the next question. Matthew says, my dad visits me every so often since his passing. So is he visiting, or is some other being using his essence to trick me if everything is connected?
Oh, I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that. I mean, I will say that I had a death in my family years ago. And I happened to be on the phone with somebody who was a psychic, had psychic ability type ideas. And we were just talking, and they stopped the conversation and said that my uncle was standing behind me trying to get his attention to give me a message. So I can understand somebody visiting, but I don't know that I could determine or, tell you it's somebody imitating him or him. I think you would be the best judge of that.
I would also say on that part, go by the energy of the feeling. If it feels off and doesn't feel right, it's probably not your dad. But if it feels like your dad and it feels right, it probably is.
I would agree with that.
Let's go to Lex here. Did you see Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day? If so, what did you think of it?
I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it?
I have not seen it. I want to. On my list of things to do, my biggest problem is our one theater, our one movie screen theater doesn't get the highest quality of movies every now and again. So I'm waiting. I'm waiting patiently.
My thing with it is at best a docudrama, right? It's not a documentary. Maybe there's something hidden in there buried, but it'll be unconfirmed. Steven Spielberg is a great summer blockbuster filmmaker. And I'm sure in terms of entertainment is a great film. In terms of UFO information, I don't know that it has any value.
I think it's a movie. And, that's one of the things that we talked about with a lot of people, okay, is kind of moving forward with it all. Don't use Disclosure Day or Steven Spielberg as this is the ticket to disclosure. Too many people already did that online. It's not what it's about. It's a movie. And it's probably a very accurate movie to what we have experienced as experiencers. That's why I want to see it. But I also know it's a movie. So let's get to another one here, as we have Everett Themer on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Candace is asking, what is your favorite part or most exciting subject you like or love about the paranormal, aliens, etc.? Have you had a super eye-opening experience that sticks with you?
Like we mentioned before, I think in terms of the paranormal, a lot of the older historical stuff is what I'm really interested in right now. It doesn't mean that won't change. If something new comes out in the UFO field, obviously it would probably switch to that. If something came out in the cryptid field, if there were dogman sightings like in my neighborhood or in my backyard, that could change my interest. I mean, that's the nice thing about interest. You can kind of change them, as you go along. In terms of eye-opening experience that stuck with me, I have a lot. And Dave, you and I have talked about some of these in the past. I have a lot of paranormal experiences in so much as that I probably shouldn't be as skeptical as I am, but I've had a lot, and one that sticks with me the most is when I was 8 years old. I was at my grandparents' house, and my dad and my grandfather and I were walking out into the woods to check a fire that had been burned, to burn away some brush at the edge of the woods. And we were walking out, and this figure steps out from behind a tree, and it was kind of white and glowing. And I was like 8 years old. I screamed, and my dad did not know what the heck I was screaming about, and kind of got mad. It turned out about a week later, there was a truck parked in the woods just about 20 feet from that tree that nobody knew about. And in that vehicle, there was somebody who it was ruled a suicide, but the rumors are still in the neighborhood that it was a murder. And, part of me believes that was the guy stepping out from behind the tree. And that was probably my very first paranormal experience that I remember.
Do you ever feel that maybe you're just connected?
No. I mean, to an extent, yeah, but like I don't go searching out the experiences, but I think, and I think most people in the paranormal field would kind of agree with this. The more you look into this stuff, the more it kind of is attracted to you.
Flat Sixer is asking, if history looks back on this era 50 years from now, because we know you'll still be drinking coffee when that happens, what do you think we're missing today that will seem obvious in hindsight?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it's going to be some form of technology surrounding the UFO phenomenon, whether it be the drone situation or some sort of defense. I think there's nothing we're going to look back on in like the paranormal or, like the ghost topic and say, oh, if we had just, tuned our Mel meter a little bit different, that would have answered all these questions. We just missed that. I don't think it's going to be something like that. I think it's going to be something technological around the UFO field. And I think it's going to be something that'll be disappointing. I think we're going to find out that something was just technology that we had developed.
I think it's going to be, if I can jump in here, because I love this question, I think it's going to be the real definition of UAP that we have tried to tell people about. Some people don't agree with us, that UAP are man-made phenomena. I think that's going to be a lot more obvious in 50 years. I think that we are also going to see how much technology we have. And we might even be able to learn some things that we missed from some of the hints that have been given out. Like when Anna Paulina Luna will tweet out ominously the Book of Enoch. What does that mean? What are we missing there? So I think there's a lot of hints that we are being given. We're just too naive or too tunnel vision to see it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I could go with that. And that's the beauty of social media, though. I mean, maybe there are hints out there, but some of them, I mean, some of the stuff that comes out is so unexpected, bizarre, hard to connect to anything else that maybe it does need time to make that connection.
Or maybe this whole subject just needs an enema.
That
Everett,
could be too.
We are going to wrap up the first 2 hours. I know you're sticking around for hour 3 with Robin Haynes tonight. You're going to hang out, enjoy some woo as hour 3 kicks off next. Swamp Dweller, Robin Haynes. We're going to turn up the woo and have some fun. We'll be right back, everybody.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're going to play a video. We'll be back in 5 minutes, everybody.
Stop now! You're under arrest! Hands up! Don't move!
Don't get caught without your Spaced Out Radio merchandise. We have t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, socks, hats, stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can look the part? We don't have ugly merch, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Dirty filth. Dirty filth. Dirty filth.
Object is heading north 045 degrees. It's definitely not a plane. It seems to be tethered to something. Is that a banner, Joe? Caribou Con. Does anyone know what Caribou Con is?
Caribou Con, one of the BC Caribou region's best-kept secrets. Until now. Join our panel of renowned paranormal experts for a weekend of fun and intriguing presentations. Go to cariboucon.com to book or inquire now.
Over here. Look at this.
Discover Spaced Out Radio on all your favorite platforms. We're live every single night with the best in UFOs, cryptids, paranormal, and the unexplained. And you can find us on all your favorite platforms. Head over to Instagram for behind the scenes and daily weirdness, TikTok for quick mind-bending clips, Facebook for community discussions, and X for real-time updates and hot takes. Wherever you scroll, Spaced Out Radio is there. So go search Spaced Out Radio on every platform, hit follow, and turn on notifications so you never miss a single episode. The weird is waiting. See you there.
The McNeil House is one of several buildings at the 108-mile heritage site said to be haunted by spirits of a time long forgotten. But would you stay the night? Along with guided ghost tours and paranormal investigations, Haunted 108 is offering a chance to spend the entire night inside the historic McNeil House by booking one of our B&B style sleepovers, where you can experience the hauntings firsthand, meet the resident ghost cat, and witness unusual activity. If you dare to turn history into a night you'll never forget, book your spot now at haunted108.com. Spots are limited. Will you be brave enough?
All right, let's bring in our guests. As we have Robin, we have Everett. Now, Robin, we made a major announcement here on the show. Everett is going to be our new weekend host.
Nice. Hi, Robin.
Hi.
Now, Robin
Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Woo, but she's so damn accurate. Like scary accurate.
Yeah, the weekend was interesting.
Yeah, we'll get into that here. Everett, you'll like this because you don't know much about the whole Flight 21 saga.
Nah, that's a Canadian thing. We don't get a lot of that down here.
Yeah. Blackthorn, how you doing? T-Bone, thank you for the lone super chat. Greatly appreciate your love and support. And we're coming back in 10 seconds, everybody. Swamp Dweller will be 3 minutes, 10 seconds. Here comes the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Selenophilia. Selenophilia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. Something really weird has happened to me twice. I have told this story to some of my friends, but no one has experienced anything similar. So I am wondering if anyone out there has gone through the same thing or has an explanation of what this might be. So, the first time this happened, I was around 10 or 11 years old. My sister, who was around 3 years at the time, and I shared the same room. She was sleeping in her cradle, and it was sometime around 8 a.m., I believe. I just was woken up, and I stayed laying on the bed looking toward the direction where my sister was still sleeping. Then, what I thought was my mom walked into the room, wearing a salmon pink PJ she had on. Then, she stood right in front of my sister's cradle. She just kept staring at her sleeping, which I thought was odd, but I didn't think much of it. Then out of nowhere, she said, "Boo," and disappeared. Right after that, my sister started crying. And then my actual mom walked in, wearing a different set of PJs, by the way, picked her up and took her to her room. I didn't say anything at that moment. I just stayed there quiet. I don't really know why I didn't get scared at the time. I guess I was just so confused. I know it was weird, but I guess I just didn't think much of it. The second time, something similar happened. I was in my senior year of high school, so I must have been probably about 18 years old or so. I was sleeping in my room. At the time, my sister had her own room, so I was alone, and
I was woken up by the sound of my mom yelling my name very, very loud. It sounded almost as if she was angry. I woke up a little bit frightened since it was a school night and I thought maybe I woke up late to go to school and she was mad at me because of that. This happened often, to be honest. But then I realized it was still dark out since I didn't see any light coming from the window. I saw my mom standing right in front of my window. It was dark, but I could still see her. She just kept staring at me and didn't say a word. I thought that was really weird, so I said, "Mom?" And right after I said that, she began to distort, almost as if she was like a hologram. And then she or it disappeared. This time, I was really scared, so I ran into my parents' room and stayed there for the rest of the night. The following morning, I told them what happened, but they told me I must have been sleeping. I don't really know what happened that night, but I am pretty sure I was awake because the noise of someone that sounded like my mom yelling woke me up in the first place. Nothing like that has ever happened to me again, but I have always wondered what that thing was and why it happened twice and why I'm the only one that remembers anything. It seems like time always stops when these events happen too. It seems like, I don't know, I'm like almost ripped out of time itself. Has anyone experienced anything similar or has any clues to what this thing or things might be and why it would look like my mom and why it seems like time slows down or stops?
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another spooky story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories for you to listen to each and every night. Let's head to the forest. Here's Robin.
Robin Haynes walks stopped where the tall trees sway. She hears Bigfoot whisper what the wind won't say. Through the veil of the forest where the wild man plays, the Bigfoot psychic talks to Sasquatch every day. Only on Spaced Out Radio's Cryptic Q&A.
Robin Haynes, it is always great to have you back on, and we reintroduce Everett Themer, who's sticking around for the third hour here. Robin, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I love it here. Thank you. And it's so good to meet Everett.
It's good to
Welcome
meet you
to
too.
the team.
Thank you.
Yes, anytime you want to have Robin on, she's incredible.
Oh, we have so much fun.
Yes, and she runs a massive Bigfoot conference in Nebraska every
Yeah.
year.
And Dave will be there next year.
She's getting upset because her audience keeps wanting me back.
No, we love having Dave there. He's a true showman. Plus, he's got great information and he's like Mr. Personality Plus. There's no way you cannot love Dave. It's just not possible.
Oh, just stop. I'm getting a swelled head here.
It's as long as you've got a Taco Bell or any kind of Mexican restaurant, you are good to go.
This is true. This is true.
It is true.
We had our Flight 21 adventure this past weekend, Robin.
That was so much fun.
Some very interesting things happen.
Yes.
Now, Everett, I'm going to get, from a skeptical point of view, I'm going to get your take on this as well.
Awesome.
So we have 3 trail cameras set up at Flight 21. We go there. We go check the trail cams. Everything looks normal except the first trail cam, which is about 15 feet from from our gifting site. It looked all normal, looked perfectly fine till we checked the memory card. And we noticed that the stick, which was sitting on top of the trail camera, shortly after we left, had been moved in front of the camera. And then on our second trail camera by the gifting site, which is to capture anything that the first one doesn't, had the moss that was surrounding it to kind of cover it up, pushed over top of the camera as well. So we literally got no photographs. Then on the third trail camera, which is a decent ways away, It's where we have our jar of peanut butter hidden in an old stump that stands about 7.5, 8 feet tall. That camera was uncovered as well. Could it be chipmunks? Could it be squirrels? Could it be rabbits? Or could it be something else? But we got nothing on our trail cameras because they were locked. I find that very coincidental. What do you think, Everett?
Well, from a skeptical point of view, there's the obvious questions of, was it windy or breezy that day? Were things falling from the trees? Were they in an area where the trees were, shedding twigs and things like that to knock things down and move things around to kind of cover the lenses? But when you have 3 cameras all having similar problems, skeptically, that's hard. As a skeptic, it is hard to explain that away. The only thing I would want to know is, were they positioned in a way where one camera was capturing the other camera? So like, camera A is capturing camera B in the corner of the picture or something like that. And is camera B capturing camera C in the corner, something like that. So if something had walked up to the camera and covered the lenses or moved something on it, they can't really do all 3 at one time, can they? It would be a chance to catch something.
Well, the third camera is not near the gifting site, but the other 2 do cross-reference each other. Now, I'll be honest with you, as much as I'm into the woo, I think it was squirrels. I do. I think it was squirrels. But were those squirrels instructed to do that? I don't know. Robin, your thoughts?
Well, as we've talked about before, I don't do the cameras anymore because they would go and take branches and bury them. The other thing they can do is, because everything they do, they use frequency and energy to do it. They can manipulate the cameras. I watched them do that for years. Could a squirrel do it? Absolutely. Do they use mind control on the other animals in the forest? 100%. Could they get the squirrel to do it? Absolutely. They use a projection into the mind of whatever their subject is, and they make them think it's their own thoughts. So could they do it? Absolutely. Could a squirrel have done it on its own? Yeah, but to all 3 cameras, that's unlikely. I just have had it done so many times. And when it's been done at my house, when they've done it, I've got giant footprints all over the ground. So unless the squirrel is bringing in, a fake footprint to make it, it's pretty easy to tell. But yeah, I mean, all of the things are possible. It is possible a squirrel could have done it. A squirrel's going to play with anything. The frequency alone off the camera is going to bring the attention of every animal out there, as well as a Sasquatch, who we already know who is not an animal, nor is the dogman. So, either or is a possibility. In this case, because of the amount of activity that you have, and then when I did the remote view, rewound the time type thing, yeah, they're not going to tolerate the cameras. And that big male said to tell you, you know better.
Right? I know, but guess what? They're still going to be out there.
Yep.
They're still.
And I do like, Everett, I like the fact that you're the skeptic, because I think in all of this, we need that little bit of third dimensional skepticism. I think that's good, because not everything is a cryptid, but also not everything isn't. So it's always good to have that little bit of skepticism.
I appreciate that. I mean, there is a difference between somebody who's a skeptic and somebody who's a debunker. And that seems to have kind of gotten lost over the past few years, that everybody who's even slightly skeptical is simply out to debunk everything. And like Dave and I were talking before, I've had a lot of strange things happen that I can't explain. And
you and I have to talk.
being skeptical is the only way, for me anyway, to really find the answers.
Well, in all fairness, anytime anything happens, and we already know, anybody that knows me knows my life is just wonky on a slow day. But anytime anything happens, I still am that girl that's going to go out and try to find every reason in the book that it's not what I know it is. You know, it's like I'm still having, we talked about this a few weeks ago. Every morning I wake up, my air conditioner has been moved in my window. Like every morning. And I've put all kinds of things around it so I can tell that it's been moved, taken pictures of it before I go to bed at night and, and then again in the morning, and it's moved. So I'm still trying to debunk it. But I think that's a good thing because I think we just can't assume too much. There's too much play between the paranormal and the third dimensional realm. And so I think that's a good thing. That's how we learn.
Exactly.
So then, following that up, we ended up going back to our home base, and we were followed up shortly after that. And of course, it always happens when the cameras are off. But we followed that up with a pair of very short roar/growls. Now, in our area, you learn what a bear sounds like, both grizzly bear and black bear. You know what a mountain lion sounds like. You know what the wolves sound like. Moose don't really growl. Okay. This was a guttural sound. And we had that happen twice. Now, every goosebump on my body was standing up at that point when that happened. Because that's when you really feel that you are not alone. And let me tell you, we went down the trail that leads to the crash site. And it got more and more intense down there. Not that we saw anything, but that we were, all three of us were feeling that there was definitely something big watching us. That's an intimidating feeling, Robin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So,
yep. They used to come up behind me and pat my hair while they were cloaked. And you can feel the energy off of them. And it's very intimidating.
So I decided all three of us, Kevin, Mike, and myself, would do the Estes method, where we use noise canceling headphones, we use a blindfold, and we end up asking questions and hopefully getting some audio response through the ghost box. Now, when I went under, that did not happen. I did not hear anything, but I don't usually hear anything. I usually see things within the black blindfold, and I feel things. So at one point, I was feeling that somebody was kept on knocking into my leg. You know, when you walk by somebody, if you're like in a movie theater or at a very tight restaurant and you kind of bump into their leg and it feels like you're going to trip. That's what it felt like. And that happened twice. And apparently, I also started getting feelings that there was something big walking around the crash site. And at that exact same moment, when I called that out, Mike and Kevin stated that there were very heavy foot stomping sounds coming from that area. I can't hear this, but I got to go by what their word says. And hopefully we were able to catch that on camera. So was there some sort of intuitive ability coming out? I don't know. I think so. When Mike was under, the spirits around there were setting off all of our equipment. Absolutely all of our equipment. So it was a very, very active area that night, which was very surprisingly awesome considering the last couple weeks, Rob and I had been complaining to you about how quiet it had been up there. So just your thoughts on that.
I may. Well, you know, we had talked about that before. They were really, and in fact, not this last week and the weekend before when you went out there, I said, it's not, the energy out there isn't bad, but something is going on, and it had nothing to do with you guys. So we knew that when you went in. But, you know, and then afterwards, you guys, when you went this last weekend and you said, you know, we're headed out there. I said, okay, I always let them know that you're coming. Always. And the energy was much more active when I contacted them, and they were all moving around. They were pretty active at that point. And I told them, I said, you guys want them to come out because they absolutely adore you. I'm like, nobody's talking, nobody's making a noise, nobody's doing anything. But they were already moving up front as soon as I said you were headed there. So I'm not surprised you got more activity. I anticipated it because the energy and the frequencies all showed it.
Love it.
You know, and I kind of got on them because it's been so quiet. Now, I don't know that that had anything to do with it. They were already mobile when I contacted them.
It was just nice to see it happen.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, very nice to see it happen. By the way, this date in music history, before we go any further, 39 years ago today, Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses was released. You knew I'd remember that one.
How to make somebody feel old in one sentence.
Man. And I'm still rocking almost every day to Paradise City. Love it. Love it. But back to this area. Robin, what do you see after last weekend? What do you see happening this weekend coming up?
I'm not sure it's going to be quite as active, but I think you're still going to have a lot more coming up. Now, again, you know, they had Belina come up. That was the first female that you ever had come into that group. I mean, from that group came up. She brought a second female with her this time. And I think you're going to start to see over the course of I would say next 4 to 6 weeks, I think we're going to find that some of the older kids are going to come in. I think that's why the females came in first, because they're checking it out. Babies are going to stay at the back. They're not bringing those babies up yet. But I can see some that I want to say would be 6 to 8 years of age. So you're looking between 4.5 feet, maybe 5 foot. But some of the younger ones, okay, they're getting ready to start teaching the younger males how to hunt. And I think they're going to be coming up more. I think you're going to see some more games played, you know, which is basically what they're doing with you guys now. Like, you know, the whole surrounding you. That was all fun and games. The counting coup they did on you. Okay. And that feeling that you had where they brush across your leg like that. You didn't fall, did you?
No, I was sitting in a chair when that happened.
Okay. The reason why I say that is they love to play. Okay. And they have a wonky sense of humor. They really and truly do. It is not uncommon to do, and this is what I think happened to you. They do a belly crawl. Okay. And when they do the belly crawl, especially if cloaked, they do it and they will literally knock your legs out from under you. They do it in tall grass, but they'll also do it when it's open. And they get close enough to you where they actually, as they wiggle through, they brush up against your leg. They may not necessarily knock your legs out from under you, although there are times they will, but they'll brush up against you as they're going through. And it's really crazy when they do the belly crawl. Because if you think about the Scooby-Doo cartoons, when Scooby-Doo would be like on his fingers and his toes, and you'd hear that ding, 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 ding. Every time I see them do a belly crawl, that's the first thing that pops in my mind, because that's pretty much how they do it. That's different from the crab crawl they do. They do this as a belly crawl, and they get as low to the ground as humanly possible, and they wiggle just almost like they're a snake, and they go 90 miles an hour that way. And if they do it when cloaked, they can brush right by your legs, or they'll get up close enough where they'll touch your legs. Now, when you were walking towards the gifting site, they were trying to count coup on you. Okay. So again, counting coup it used to be a rite of passage. Now they do it for fun. They cloak themselves. They come up behind you and they have to touch you to see who's going to be brave enough to touch you. You know, and they love to do it. They do that to me all the time. It doesn't creep me out like it used to.
We're going to go to a break, our final break of the night. Everett Themer, Robin Haynes, the Cryptid Q&A going on right now.
This is Spaced Out Radio. Your host, Dave Scott.
All right, everyone, we are clear.
Yeah, I was so excited because while you guys were out, I was like trying to remote view it, keep an eye on what was going on, make sure everybody was okay. And I'm thinking, what are they doing out there? They were doing all these crazy things. So then you called and I'm like, wait a minute. They were doing this, this, and this. So I was so excited when you verified it. I was like a happy girl.
Oh, Everett, it was incredible. I call up Robin as I do every time I get out of the forest, because literally we have no cell phone service out there. So, and it's an hour in and an hour out. And Robin picks up the phone and she's like, what the hell was going on out there? And I'm like, you tell me. And she started listing off all of this stuff that was going on. And I'm like Kevin, myself, and Mike were just kind of nodding and snickering as we're listening to this. I mean, Robin has never been to this location. Okay. Never been to this location. She's never been up here. She lives in North Carolina, and she couldn't tell our area from anywhere, because the only thing that she's ever seen is our videos that we put out. But she is always so damn accurate with what is going on. It's scary awesome sometimes, Robin. It really is.
It's so much fun. I don't actually even know the city or anywhere near where you're at. What it is I follow your energy signatures. So, and the energy signature of them, because I'm used to it.
Witness Protection, how you doing? Boston Chris, welcome to SOR Chat. Do they have live aliens or aliens live on this? Well, we try to, but a lot of times their PR departments don't allow it. So we will do our best, though. T-Bone, thank you for that amazing second super chat. Really appreciate it. I think we're caught up. Yeah, we're caught up.
Yeah, they were like having a ball, which is good, because like the week before, they were so focused on what they were working on and they didn't even pay attention to you guys. It was like, okay, they're there, but they weren't bothered by you, but they weren't interacting. They had the two females came up, and, the white one that always meets you guys when you come in, and that black one, they weren't even there. They were back this last week. So that was good. I knew they'd be back. They have stuff to do. They leave, they come back. But, and that brown one kept following you around. I actually think he was the one that counted coup on you, not the leader, but he's another brown one that's there. And I think he was the one that was doing the counting coup. The dog man was there, and he's, he seems really mellow.
Yeah,
like, I like him. He's got such good energy.
I'm not going to take that chance.
Yeah, he seems really good, though. But I think he was there more because there were so many spirits active over at the crash site. I think that's what he was in there for. But I never picked up anything negative. Like, everything was just like playing and having a good time. Everybody was doing great. But it was like everything was off the charts.
Oh, I did forget to tell you. I think a rock was thrown while we were sitting down. I think a rock was thrown and it hit my muffler or my tailpipe or something like that.
Oh, well, remember that white one does that to you a lot. But it's not in anger. I mean, he's just playing games.
Yeah, it wasn't a big sound. It was just like a ping.
Yep. The little ones are just playing around. You can tell the intent by the size of the rock. So the little tiny rocks that just ping off like that, that's just to let you know, hey, they're there. you know.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was fantastic. I was sitting at home watching it going, we'll see what happens when they call. Either I've lost my mind or whatever, but this was like, they were having a good time.
Everett, it's crazy.
I believe it.
For people asking when the videos are going to go out, we are in production of them. You got to go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/SOR Secrets of the Forest. SOR Secrets of the Forest. And that's where you'll find it. I'll put the link up here pretty quick. You'll find that right now. And we're coming back in like 8 seconds.
Sounds good.
Here comes the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We have Everett Themer here, as well as Robin Haynes for the Cryptic Q&A. It's good to have you both here right off the bat. We're going to get some audience questions here for all of you. And this one starts off from Joe. Robin, how are the forest fires affecting the Bigfoot population?
They're making them a little nervous. Okay. Just like with us, all the smoke causes more breathing issues. So that's not great. Some of them have had to evacuate. And so others, the places have been burned so badly that they're going to have to relocate. What they'll do, though, is after it comes back and, the foliage comes back and the grass is back or whatever, they'll come back at that time. But yeah, it has affected them. It's changed what they can hunt because it's run off, the wild game. So it does have a really big impact on them, pretty much like it would a person, that has a house up there. It's basically the same thing, but it does make it very difficult for them to breathe. Some will go on foot out of that area. If it gets too bad, they will use a portal. But it definitely has an impact.
Everett, do you have Bigfoot around you?
They say we have Dogman in the area, but we don't really seem to have any real reports of Bigfoot around here. Now, you and I have had discussions where you've mentioned you think that we probably do just because of where I'm at, but we haven't really seen any evidence of it. But I will say that there have been more and more people, it seems, out in the forest trying to do wood knocks and things like that. Like maybe there is somebody in the area investigating or looking for them. So, I haven't heard of any reports other than Dogman, but there's always the possibility.
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
And you may or may not remember this. Okay, what happened when you were 17? Like the UFO? Do you even remember it, or did they block it? You saw a UFO when you were 17 or somewhere in that age time period.
There wasn't a UFO issue when I was 17, but a little while ago, Dave asked, or a listener asked about any paranormal experiences that really stuck with me. And there was one that happened when I was 17, but I rarely talk about it because there was a death involved, and out of respect for the family, I kind of keep that to myself. That was really the only thing I can remember when I was 17.
Okay, then they've blocked it. No, you weren't abducted or anything. You saw it. It was very just over the tops of trees, is from what they're telling me.
Not that I remember. I've never seen a classic UFO sighting. I've seen things in the sky that may or may not.
Oh, I can show you videos. You can see what they look like.
UFOs, but I have never had any kind of real alien or UFO experience.
Okay, well, the aliens say it when you were 17. There was a sighting, but like I said, the whether or not they let you remember it, I don't know. That's why I wondered if you remembered it.
No, I don't.
All right, let's move to a different question. Let us go next to Paramarv. Robin, I recently came across a story of a 1996 incident in North Carolina where the military came in due to Bigfoot attacking locals. Have you ever heard this story and do you have any information?
No, I actually have not heard about that story, but that is a very typical thing. And here's what happens. And I'm not saying that they did not attack the locals because I don't know of that particular story. But what I will say is it is a very common thing for the military to justify going in and eliminating clans. And they always say the same story. It's very common in any state that they do it in. They were attacking locals. And then when you interview any of the locals, they look at you like you've lost your mind and they're like, what are you talking about? Okay. And then you have to go back and look at what they consider an attack. I get people that call me all the time and say, I was attacked. I was attacked. And I'm like, okay, were you physically hurt? No. Did they throw something at you? No. Well, what did they do? They waved their arms at me and they yelled. That is not an attack. That is absolutely not an attack. It could be trying to get you away from a certain area for whatever reasons. You know, an attack is actually actively going at you or causing you physical harm. And so, but it is very common. And again, I am not saying that they did not attack. North Carolina is really sketchy. Okay. There's some good ones there, but there's also some nasty ones there. But it is very common for the government to justify their actions of going in there and eliminating clans of any type of cryptid and saying we did that because they're going after civilians, even when they are not. So, you know, that, but I have not heard of that particular incident. No.
I've never heard of that incident either. But you look at a lot of incidents like that, Everett, they seem to disappear. Like we'll go very loud at them for a quick while, maybe a week, and then they just disappear. I realize that happens with every media story. Okay. But just if you go back a month and a half, 2 months ago, there was that lady who was, you know, looking for a job and she was heading back home. And before she got into the doorway, she was attacked by what they felt was a dog and what she claimed was a dog. But there was no evidence of a dog. There was no dog running around, you know, and the marks that were made on her after the attack were not coinciding with any sort of shepherd or pit bull or Saint Bernard or any dog breed whatsoever.
They actually did. They actually did. They blamed it on the dogmen for a long time. And I saw an interview with her and they got to and her memory started to come back well after the attack, after she was released. And she said she remembered black or paws and like the leg of a canine and paws coming at her, and they were black and white. And then they found, which does not coincide with what a dogman's arms and hands looks like, by the way. And they found evidence that was the couple had a Great Dane that was black and white. I think it was a Great Dane, but they didn't for a long time. They said they couldn't find evidence that it was a canine. They changed the stories. They rearranged it. It's very convenient. And sensationalism sells. You're never going to, very rarely do you hear stories about any of the good stuff they've done. And there are a multitude of things they've done. Like personally, they've saved my life 6 times. So, and there's other stories, but the ones that really stay prominent are the ones where they're attacking. And there are some that will attack. Like the bad ones are unimaginable. They are absolutely incredible. The good ones are the deepest form of love you can even understand. It's beyond what we are as far as when we love. But Dave is absolutely right. this stuff gets buried.
Well, that brought to mind, Dave, the incident. Gosh, it's probably been 8 years or so ago now, of the little kid who disappeared and then was gone for like 3 or 4 days and reappeared and basically described being taken care of by a Bigfoot type creature. And the sheriff, I want to say that was in North Carolina, I think, or one of the Carolinas, that sheriff was going to get to the bottom of it. They weren't going to let it go. They were going to figure out what it was. And then by a week or two later, the story had just disappeared and there were never any updates.
And the parents never gave any updates either.
Yeah.
It was like they were told not to talk about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I firmly think the government came in and told them they had to quiet it.
It's not surprising, especially when they found the little boy in a briar patch. The temperature should have gave him hypothermia, and yet he was warm. The only issue that they had when they got him out of the briar patch was that the boy's jacket and pants were torn a little bit from the thistles.
And it was an area that had been searched
4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And he said the big teddy bear kept on feeding him berries so he wasn't hungry and kept him warm at night.
It seems like it's a story that should have been followed up on, especially when the sheriff of the area makes public statements like they're not going to let it go. They're going to figure it out. You would hope that in cases like that, the stories would at least have enough legs to get some updates.
Well, yeah, it's like the story Dave was talking about. He's absolutely 100% right. They found no evidence of a canine. They were convinced it was a cryptid. I mean, that story went for a long time. She finally started remembering things quite a while after that, and that's when they finally found out what was going on. But it like took flight the second it hit. It was on every news network. It was on every podcast. Everybody was covering it, and it was a dog man. It was a dog man. They were convinced. You know, a few of us kept saying, no, it's not. You know, not that they couldn't do it, but none of it matched what they typically would do as far as with her. She had horrific injuries. I mean, probably the worst dog mauling I've ever seen, you know, or even heard of. But the good stuff they don't put out. And then when it does come out, it gets buried immediately. Anything bad, they're going to put all over the place. But the government comes in and they need an excuse to kill them. They don't want them out in public for a lot of reasons that we really don't have time to go into tonight, but they don't want them. And they can't do a whole lot about them. So when they locate these clans, and they locate them, you know, just by looking at there are groups that have a registry where you can log in and put down, you know, you had a sighting and where at. There are places all over the place that are high populated concentrations of them. People are interacting with them. The government goes in, mouths it in there, burns their structures to the ground, kills them, and they haven't done anything. They existed. And the same talk, it's the same thing every time. They were attacking civilians. But then you go there and you talk to the civilians and they're like, no, everybody knew they were there. Everybody's seen them. But yet they weren't bothering anybody. They just existed. And that gives the government has a reason to go in and kill them.
Well, that brings up an interesting it brings up an interesting idea, because I don't know, Dave, you probably weren't aware of this. Robin, I don't know if you remember it, but it made the Wall Street Journal that the USDA was going around, and it was happening in my area as well as around the country. The USDA was going out in the fields, in the rural areas, and supposedly shooting deer off season, basically telling people that even on their own property. They would be arrested if they tried to stop the USDA. They were showing up with badges and guns, all under the guise of shooting deer to test for wasting disease.
I remember that.
But there's no real reason to illegally hunt deer to test for wasting disease when they have to be, every time you have a deer processed, it has to be tested to begin with, and B, they could just randomly harvest some to test the population. And there were a lot of people speculating that this was the government doing something beyond just hunting deer. And I saw a couple of the trucks that they had. They were not like, government hunters going out in the woods. These were, Ford F-350s with high-powered lights and mounts for guns. You don't need a gun mounted on the side of your truck to hunt a deer. But like I said, do you know anything about the idea that this was more than just hunting deer?
What I heard, I remember when that went on, and I remember people that I personally knew that had ran into these people that said that they were, military, or not military, but they were taking the deer out for that because there was a problem with it. The thing I found really odd is in the area that we lived in, there were no confirmed cases of that. Nobody had any issues with it. So I found it very odd. Why are you out there killing them and testing them when we don't even have any confirmed cases out here? In the area that I lived in, which was in Michigan at the time, none of that was going on.
And if you're the government and you're testing for wasting disease, why hide it? Why the necessity of doing it under the cover of night, threatening people with arrest? Just make a statement that you're going to be in an area testing, harvesting part of the population to test for wasting disease. Why? There's no reason to do it in the middle of the night and threaten landowners with arrest if they try and stop them. The USDA, first of all, I had no idea they carry badges and have the power of arrest. I don't think they ever gave out results on anything either. I haven't heard any. Not from anything other than like the local health department and things like that keep statistics on that for the local area, but nothing ever like from the federal level.
But yeah, they do this. It's very common for them to do this with cryptids, and it always seems to be under the same pretense. They are going after civilians. They are causing problems. They are too close to humans. Well, number one, they're part human too, But the thing of it is they would do this all the time. And when I lived in Michigan, for at least 5 years, I never had less than 5 to 6 helicopters hovering over my house 24 hours a day. It was insanity. And I know that's what they were looking for, which would have been easy considering they walked around my yard all the time. But they would hover over my property. If I was back in the woods, you were guaranteed the helicopter was above me. And I had a friend of mine that we had went to another place to look at some property for her, and the helicopter followed us over there. I would go into town to the grocery store. I'd have a helicopter follow me. Then they'd be back over my property. It drove my kids nuts. How do you explain to little kids, why are they being watched from a helicopter from all different branches of the military? Yeah, it's just nuts, the whole thing.
Let's see if we got any more questions here from our audience. Let's go to T-Bone. Robin, hearing more theories that Esau was born a Sasquatch. Have you ever heard this theory?
You know what? I did a long time ago. And it's been a long, long time since I've heard it. Is it possible? I don't rule out anything after the things I've seen. I literally don't rule out anything. We know that they are a human hybrid. Okay. There's what they've told me they are on the father's side. There's what, science says it's unknown on that because we can't get into the database for what is on that father's side. So I can't say yes or no to that. Have I heard of it? I have heard of that, but I only heard about it because of in the Bible, it talks about it. And it also, there's been certain people that put that theory out there. There's no way to find out. We're never going to find out. Do I think that it's possible? I don't, in my mind, that's not what it was. But that's just an opinion. Okay. There's no factual evidence to prove that. You have to remember, Sasquatch were created after humans because they've got human DNA in them. So on the mother's side. So obviously we had to have been here before them. So it's no way to
40 here. Let's get to another question here from T-Bone as well. Robin, when is a juvenile not a juvenile?
I don't think we know for sure on that. In my opinion, it's after they get out of the teen years. It's like with our kids, they're not considered, juveniles anymore till after the age of 18. I don't think there's a cutoff as far as age, but I think as they get into young adulthood, they start calling them the adolescents when they hit about, somewhere between 18 to 20 years of age. The juveniles, anytime I've dealt with any of the juveniles, they have actually been, the ones I've encountered were anywhere from 13 on down. But I don't think there's any cutoff point. I mean, if there is, nobody said anything to me, and the cryptids haven't mentioned it. But any of the adolescents that they've shown me have been like in the older part of the teen years and into the very early 20s. And trust me, they're pure trouble. They're playful. They like to get into anything, and they're just like frat house kids. Like they're seriously college kids having a frat party. And they did it for a long time on my roof. And I was that crazy person standing out there in the middle of the night going, "You will get your hairy asses off my roof right now." And of course, everybody ignored me.
20 seconds left, Robin. Tell everybody where they can find you.
If you want to book sessions with me or have me work with you, you can get me at www.paranormal-empowerment.com. If you just have a quick question or want to reach out to me, I'm on Facebook under Robin Haynes, no middle name, no middle initial, just Robin Haynes, Haynes, and I answer everybody.
And Everett Themer, congratulations on becoming the new weekend host of Spaced Out Weekends.
Hey, thank you. It's good to be back.
You'll be live in a couple of weeks' time here as we set
I think
you
that's
up.
great.
We're going to set them up for real good success with our incredible audience in radio and in YouTube land, as well as we say goodnight to Everett and Robin. And hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Ball, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Good job tonight, people.
Oh, thank you, Everett. So great to meet you. Welcome to the family.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too. And time with Dave is always fun.
Oh yeah, Dave is a blast.
See, now you two are full of shit. Both of you are full of shit.
Oh, goodness. What would the night be without Dave?
Quiet and boring.
It would be totally boring. In all honesty, I would not stay up till 2 a.m. for anybody other than Dave.
That's the way I feel.
I'm telling you. All right, you guys. If either one of you need me, you know how to reach me, and I'll talk to you later.
Robin, I'll talk to you on Sunday, okay?
Absolutely. I'll be here waiting. You guys take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Everett, thank you very much. We're going to be having New York call in here in a moment. So I got to prep up for that. Tomorrow night on the show, if my computer would stop spinning, there we go. Tomorrow night on the show, Patrick Spain joins us. Bigfoot in Sumatra. Yeah, we're going to go to Sumatra, learn about their biggie footies.
Good coffee region right there.
Yeah, that'll be cool, eh? That'll be really cool. Thank you to T-Bone ×2 for the super chats. Thank you to everyone who has hit subscribe. We're moving on up a little bit quicker than usual, which is nice. Very nice to actually see. But for the rest of you, we have to say goodnight. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithms. And don't forget to leave a comment after the show. We'll talk to you soon. Everett, we'll chat with you tomorrow. Okay, buddy?
Fantastic.
See you tomorrow, guys.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.